pick some winners and then we say, let's go. So come on.
Live on a gorgeous Tuesday afternoon, wherever you are. Maybe it's the evening, maybe it's the morning. I don't know where you are. I know where I am. I know where Doug is. In Vegas, where Doug is, he's back home. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. In Cleveland, where I am, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Wherever you are, hopefully we got some winners to pick for you on Betting Weekly Hardball, part of the Betting Weekly family at Bet Rivers. And Doug, I see you got a golf shirt on today. Are you a player or just a watcher and better?
I swing the club, double-digit handicap.
Yeah.
At one point, I was down to like an 11, but this is a true 11. Adam,
Yeah.
we have people out there that have vanity handicaps who pick up the 7-footers if it's a bogey and things like that. I finish every hole, so I win a lot of match play because people get a rude awakening that their handicap may not be as good as they think it is. But no, I'm not good. I got to figure out how to straighten the drive, but I do enjoy playing a lot. Obviously, Vegas weather, you can play almost 12 months a year. And it's great, but I'm also, I'm a sports fan, die hard for a lot of sports, and I enjoy watching definitely the majors.
I am one of the 5 lowest ranked golfers on the planet. I am absolutely horrible. I don't really play much. The last time I played, I actually had fans of my radio show at the time ask me to play with them. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And after the 5th hole, I packed it in. I was like, that's all I got, guys. I'm done. I have muscles that I didn't even know existed that are hurting right now. What kind of golf situation is there in Vegas? I mean, it's the desert, obviously. What's that? I mean, you got to play it like, 6 in the morning. What do you got to do there?
It all depends on your appetite, right?
Yeah.
So I have no problem playing in 100-degree, 110-degree heat. Look, everything's got a golf cart. There's a bunch of waters. There's wet towels. You just have to accept that you might sweat a little. I've used to live in the Midwest. It gets soupy out there, so there's no humidity. And if you just accept that you're going to shower after your round and drink a lot of water, it's really not that bad. You're in the shade, it's fine. So you're in the cart and you go and hit a ball. And obviously the courses move much more quickly. There's fewer people out there when it's hot.
That's true.
But there's great weather, I don't know, a handful of months a year, and there's a lot of good courses out here. And then, if you've lived out here long enough, you have, people at good courses, private clubs and stuff like that as well.
Is there, last thing on this, and we'll move on to the baseball schedule for today because we got a lot of good things to talk about, but is there somebody you've worked with, maybe your time at ESPN? By the way, a good friend of mine named Ed. I meant to mention this to you early in the week. My friend Ed, shout out to my friend Ed Reven, who's a big sports gambler. He's a huge fan of yours. And he's like, dude, I didn't know you were doing a show with Doug because I told him I was doing a baseball show, but I didn't, and we were talking and I mentioned you and he's like, I didn't know you were doing a show with him. And so he was a huge fan of you when you were on ESPN. He was disappointed when you left. And I said, man, like they moved out of Vegas. Vegas is his home now, so that's your place. So now he's watching the show. But anyway, he's a big fan.
Welcome aboard, Ed. Good to have you.
So, but is there somebody you worked with, maybe at ESPN or wherever your other stops along the way, that might shock people that is very good at golf? That anybody that comes to mind?
Yeah, so I don't know if it shocks anyone, but Bucci Gross is really good. We played, and he's solid. He can shoot par. So that would be probably the best, the one I recommend. The one I think of the most. But that's not surprising. He posts a lot of stuff about golf and things like that. He's really into it.
Okay, very good. All right, let's move on to talk some baseball. Hopefully, I know we're into baseball. Hopefully, we can be into winning. It's an 8-game docket today on a Thursday. That's not bad for a Thursday because Thursday could be hit or miss. You could get a bunch of games. You could have 3 games on a Thursday. There are 2 games going on. Well, I like a little more action on a Thursday afternoon, so I could do with that. But we'll live with the 2 games. There is a 3rd game starting in about an hour. We'll talk about that later. But let's dive into the 2 games that are going on right now, Doug. The Rangers lead the Twins 6-1 heading to the bottom of the 3rd. Twins actually blew an opportunity to get right back in this. They had the bases loaded and 1 out in the bottom of the 2nd, but did not score. But 6-1 Rangers, an early good start for them. What are we looking at here? Because obviously this game is fairly one-sided early.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ober got touched up early and often. these games can be tricky. I touched on it yesterday and the day before and all throughout. Just, don't be afraid to lay big numbers in games. I think it was the Phillies game the other day where it got away, it was a good cover because they ended up pulling away and scoring more runs because you get the bottom end of the bullpen. So, for example, Minnesota's bottom end of the bullpen is going to come in, and why wouldn't the Rangers keep hitting, right?
Right.
But
yep.
Sometimes you get some garbage runs the other side too. So I'd be more inclined to play the Mets, and we'll go to that game. But I'd rather lay a big number with the Mets in the next game because it's earlier in the game and the margin's narrower.
Yeah, the Mets on a 3.5 run line because they're up 3-0, as you mentioned, are at -134. It is 3-0. Mets batting in the bottom of the third at the moment. They have a runner on first and second because Jeff McNeil just got hit by a pitch. So 2 on, 2 out with Starling Marte at the plate. So what's the play here? Is it to lay the 3.5 runs at the -134? Well, now it just closed out.
Okay, that's something I would look at. You're probably paying a premium with 2 guys on and 2 out. I'd wait if he got out. So I think I'd rather not put so much swing, no pun intended, but swing bet on one at bat, right? Because that's baked into the line. And so if he gets a run home or something like that, then you're paying for it. And I would rather I'm focusing more on the next 6 innings than I am that one at bat. So I'd kind of wait for this half inning.
Okay, it looks like the inning. So the line's back up. We now have it. The run line's now 4 at -117, even though the score's still 3-0.
Might be like a 2-0 count or something like that. That's
yeah,
usually what
I don't
happens
know.
if it moves.
On my MLB app, it's not saying anything with Mark. Maybe there's a pitching change. I don't know. I guess that could be a possibility. No.
Soroka really came back to earth, huh?
Yeah, not a shocker there. But yes, he actually pitched well his last start, but before that he had a few in a row where he was struggling. So he hasn't been terrible overall, but water finds its level more often than not. And baseball can be unpredictable, but guys that struggle most years, it doesn't often change dramatically. But
it's early in his career, he was. So he's had such a bright future, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, with the Braves, and then he's just not been the same guy since he had that injury. Pitched for the White Sox last year. His first in 2018, he made 5 starts, looked good. Then in 2019, his first full season in the big leagues, he was phenomenal at a 2.68 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP, and was just outstanding. Unfortunately, he got hurt the year after that, made 3 starts, made only 7 starts in 23. It was terrible. Last year for the White Sox, he pitched in 25 games, relegated to the bullpen for most of the year for a terrible White Sox team, and it was awful. And he's been okay to start this season, but outside of his last start, a lot of his last few have been bad. So at this point, he's going to be 28 years old soon. I don't know if we'll ever see what he was 2019. That's a long time ago at this point.
And he got out of this jam at least, so he has that to look forward to. So what I would do is, this gets a little juicy, but you can bet sort of in-game, first 5, things like that. I would look to first 5. So the Mets are up 3-0 headed to the 4th. I think they're in a groove, and I think the dam's going to break for him. So I would lay like 2.5 minus serious money. I would look into something like that.
Okay.
Or just do team total for the Nats in the first 5. I don't know if they're going to score a run for a while. I do think there's a hangover effect from 2 nights ago where they blew the lead, and I talked about it yesterday in the show as I felt the Mets. This was like not a free game, but I had a feeling they had all the momentum in the world. So I worried that it's still lingering for the Nats, the stench of that blown game on Tuesday night.
And Kodai Senga
and Senga's been pitching great, right?
I mean, he's been unbelievable. He has not given up more than 2 earned runs since May 19th, and he hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs the entire season. His worst start in terms of earned runs allowed was against the Red Sox on May 19th. 3 earned runs in 6 innings. That was his worst. So, yeah, I mean, he's been really good all season. He doesn't go that deep into games all that often, but he has gone 6 innings or more, 3 of his last 4 starts. So that's pretty good for him. He can be.
So at Bet Rivers,
Yeah.
In a 7-inning line, you can lay 2.5 for the Mets at -315. Now you can do parlays too, so you can add that because I think there's value. I would bet it. I mean, I think they're going to blow them out. But even if you don't, I just wouldn't want to have to get a half run in the next 2 innings to lay 3.5 versus 5, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I'd be betting Nats team total under, stuff like that.
Okay. So you might parlay the Nats team total under,
or the 7 runs. Sorry, 7-inning game -2.5 for the Mets.
Okay,
with something later in the day.
Right. The total runs for the game is 8. Would you consider anything with that, or you think the Mets
I consider the under? I just worry about the Nats bullpen.
Yeah. All right. One other afternoon game starting later. Let's just talk about that now, and then we'll get to Tarek Skubal with the highlight of the night. Giants at the Rockies. That's a 3:10 Eastern start. Pitching matchup in that game. Logan Webb did not pitch great though for the Giants. We were talking about that yesterday. He didn't pitch great, but for that game tonight, or was it not Logan Webb? Am I misremembering? It
wasn't Webb. I thought
it
you
was
meant
Robbie
game,
Ray. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Robbie Ray last night did not pitch well. I expected him to pitch great, and he didn't. He only went 4 innings. But for today, you've got Hayden Birdsong, who has pitched well so far this season, and Antonio Sanzatella, who we've been talking. I mean, who's just a gas can, a 6.68 ERA and a WHIP of 2. And they lose just about every time he pitches, Doug. The Rockies have only won.
I think you can say
twice.
that about every starter, right?
That's fair. It's actually a bad stat because you could say that about it. Yeah. The last time they won a game he pitched was April the 20th against Washington. So
well, there's some dejection going on right now with the Colorado. Now it's all relative. There's probably been that all year, but Kyle Freeman was really bummed. They've had late leads in each of the first 2 games of this series with the Giants. Yesterday, the Rockies led 6-3 in the 8th. Giants won 10-7. So outscored them 7-1. 4 runs in the 9th on Tuesday for San Fran. Get the 6-5 win.
Yeah.
So Sensatella pitched pretty well in the last game, to be honest. And that was against the Mets at Coors, no less. So I'd look at the under a little bit. I'm not convinced these Giants bats are all of a sudden hot as can be, given what's gone down. Now they got to the bullpen, but it's been a tough go right now for Colorado. The line feels pretty low in terms of the money line. I mean, 210, we talked about it yesterday. It was -210 with Robbie Ray as well.
Yeah.
And the Rockies are pitiful. But maybe if Sensatella can just be normal a little bit, like give up 4 earned in 6 innings or 5. I mean, you're looking at like a 6-3 win for the Giants in my eyes. So I would look under, to be honest. 11's a big number for a pitiful Rockies lineup, and I like Birdsong.
By the way, the Giants have won 7 in a row, and they're only a half game behind. I know it's talking about the standings is a little silly this early in the year, but they're only a half game behind the Dodgers in the West. And even though it's early, I would not have predicted that. Even in June 12th, I would have thought the Dodgers, if anybody was right there, would be the Padres, who are maybe the Diamondbacks, but not the Giants.
And maybe San Francisco can make a move, right? I think this arms race, Dodgers, Padres, don't sleep on the Giants. Big market, all things considered, and they're frugal with their money, but they're willing to make moves if the situation presents itself.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the highlight game of the night. And it's only that because of Tarek Skubal. I mean, this guy's been the best pitcher of baseball for about 2 calendar years at this point. The Tigers are -195. They're -121. If you want to lay 1.5 runs in that one. The over-under is 8 in this game. The over is at -115. The under at -106. What can you say about Skubal that hasn't already been said? I mean, the guy is just an absolute monster. 6-2 with a 2.16 ERA. Dominated a good Cubs lineup last time out. In Baltimore, where obviously the Orioles have played better lately. They did win yesterday. And Keegan Aiken has been good. He has been mostly pitching out of the pen. And he's more like an opener, but the 2.89 ERA, so he's pitched well for whatever that's worth. What do you do in this game? Obviously, the Tigers are a big favorite. It's very hard to bet against Skubal. Would you do anything here or staying away?
So the Orioles have been a bugaboo a little bit, right? They had that 6-game win streak. They've split a few lately. I have to bet Skubal. And I like to isolate the starting pitcher. You can do first 5, first 7. I mean, there's really a lot of ways to skin a cat here. On the two-way line, they're minus 230. On the three-way line, I like a lot with the Tigers only minus 152. That's the run line for Detroit in the first 5 minus a half. Can we get to their starting pitcher? I mean, that's the key here. Skubal has been lights out, but sometimes he doesn't get run support like any good pitcher. And so, man, I mean, can I interest you in first, a Nerfy? Can I interest you in a Nerfy?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you bet a Nerfy every time Skubal pitches, now, what is the line on that?
Only minus 139.
Yeah. If you bet a Nerfy every time he pitches.
I was going to give you a nice stat here.
Yeah.
The last 7 games between the Tigers and Orioles, Nerfy is hit.
The only thing that makes me nervous with this is that the Orioles are starting Keegan Aiken, who's an opener, and now he hasn't given up a run the last 5 times he's pitched, and
that's kind of what I was thinking.
But I don't when it's an opener going, that makes me a little nervous on the Nerfy. But
they come out blazing. They don't have to warm up, if you will.
Right.
Can Skubal get into the 7th? Is over unders 18.5.
I would think so. What if you what if you did a parlay of Skubal over 18.5 outs and Skubal over, because if you think he's going to go a while, he probably has a decent amount of strikeouts. Now you could argue that, well, maybe he's being more efficient. I don't know, but what about over 7.5 strikeouts and over 18.5 outs? What kind
of parlay? It's only plus 138.
Okay.
I mean, I like where your head's at.
So Skubal has gone at least 3 starts in a row.
It's minus 05. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's I'm going to do a Nerfy. I think Nerfy's the way to go here.
All right.
At least one of the wagers, minus 139 at Bet Rivers.
He's just ridiculous. The last 3 starts, 23 2/3, 12 hits, no walks, 26 strikeouts, and 1 run. 2 of those games were against Kansas City and Cleveland, who don't have great lineups. But one of them was against the Cubs, who have a great lineup, and he just dominated them. I mean, he
faced Baltimore this year, went 6 shutout innings, only allowing 4 hits, but he only went 6 because he had 11 strikeouts.
Yeah, 11 Ks.
11's a big one.
But that was also earlier in the season. They kind of baby the pitchers a little early in the season.
Okay.
But like I say, he's gone 3 starts in a row and 4 of 6. He went 6 1/3. You said it was 18.5, right?
Yeah.
So 6 1/3's a winner also. So 5 of his last 6 starts, he's gone. Oh, no, I'm wrong. No, 6 1/3 is not a winner. That's 8. No, yeah, it is. It's 19.
Yeah.
So that would be a winner. So 6.
So the key with this is it's easy to look at recent form and project, but so much is different, right? Do the Orioles, are they taking more pitches now? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Or if they're going to strike out a bunch, then he's only going to go 6. I think it's a stay away. I wouldn't bet under, obviously, because he's electric and do it. I think you need to play Tigers first 5, something like that as well. I'm going to go Nerfy minus $1.39. But in terms of recent form and balancing it out, it's difficult, right? Because the market's usually pretty tight, and I think it's tight here.
Yeah, I do like that over 18.5, though. I was looking at that Orioles start where he only went 6 back in April, and he only threw 91 pitches in that game. He could have easily kept going. Although they haven't, you know what? What's crazy is his last 3 starts, he's gone 9 innings, 7 2/3, and yet, and he had strikeouts 13, 7, and 6, and yet he did not throw more than 94 pitches in any of those games, which is very efficient considering the strikeout numbers. And he has not thrown more than 96 pitches in a game this season.
They're favoring him a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. They're like, there's been a lot of starts where he could have gone one more inning, and they've been careful with him. So it's just something to keep an eye on. All right, folks, sign up for the newsletter at bettingweeklystudios.com for Betting Weekly tips, soccer previews, tennis brackets, and breakdowns. Check out the new College Sports Rush YouTube channel for our College World Series betting preview with Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff. Opening game starts Friday, tomorrow, at 2 p.m. Eastern. Are you a college baseball bettor, Doug?
I'm not. It's a little bit feels like college, actually academics cramming a lot for the final exams, which I did a lot of. But you got to be careful. The market's pretty tight. A lot of sharp money there. If you're just sort of like late to the party, so that's why it's helpful. Jimmy's been following it. Obviously LSU program in Bayou country. So having Jimmy to break down some stuff, I think it's important. And if you aggregate and listen to podcasts like that and get some good insight, then maybe make a play here and there. But you got to be careful jumping into the deep end right away.
Good call. Smart advice as always. Let's get to the next game. We've got the Yankees, who have been playing great against Kansas City. They've won the first 2 games of the series in Kansas City. Will Warren against Seth Lugo. The Royals do have the pitching advantage here, but the Yankees bats have been hot in this series. It's a 7:40 Eastern start in Kansas City. What are we thinking about here, Doug?
Yeah, for me, it's Kansas City or pass. I know exactly what you mentioned is the Yankees bats. How about the over getting in last night with 3 in the bottom of the 9th?
That's right.
Oh, that's a painful loss if you had
it is
the under.
Mark Leiter today.
Yeah, I would play the Royals, man. I know, but like it's hard when a team's hot and things like that. And the Yanks are getting it done, and I give them a lot of credit. Smoke and mirrors a little bit, but the pitching's been so good. I mean, they're 16 games above 500. They have the best run differential in all of baseball. So I did not see that coming with this roster, especially after losing Garrett Cole. So give them all the credit in the world. But you mentioned the pitching edge in favor of Lugo with the Royals. Casey's offense is not terrible or anything like that. This is not a pitiful team. So I'm at plus 128. That's the only side I could play here.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I would stay away from the Yankees here. I would stay away from the game. I don't love betting on the Royals with the Yankees bats is hot, but you know what? Every day is a new day, and every day momentum is the next starting pitcher. It really is. So just because the Yankees are hot doesn't mean they will stay hot against Seth Lugo, who's been really good the last 2 years since going to Kansas City. All right, the Cardinals and Brewers is our next game. This is a fun one because the Brewers have their top pitching prospect making his major league debut. His name is Jacob Misiorowski. He is 6'7", 197. So that's beanpole status right there. He's from Missouri, so a little connection there. Gets to face what I guess might have been his hometown team, his favorite team as a kid, the Cardinals. Cardinals are going with the veteran, good pitcher Sonny Gray in this one. Both teams lost yesterday. And now they play each other. They're battling for second place right now in the Central. Brewers have been hotter overall than the Cardinals of late, but obviously you never know when a guy's making his major league debut, even if he's a top prospect. Usually you lean towards the team with the veteran pitcher, especially when he's good. But the Brewers are good at home. What do we think here, Doug?
So a lot depends on the uniqueness of said rookie pitcher, right? So does Misiorowski have a unique delivery? 6'7" is certainly unique in a lot of ways. I'm not a huge Sonny Gray fan, so I would actually look to the Brewers here. But the Cardinals scouting and everything's probably pretty good. I'd maybe have to look into some AAA numbers, if you will, and see if their AAA affiliate always did well against him or anything like that. Any reaction? Savali going to the bullpen, requests a trade. Does that impact your handicap of Brewers, whether it's bullpen, locker room? For me, no. But it's not a good thing either.
It's certainly not a good thing. And the Brewers are a team that traditionally they got great chemistry. You know, they overachieve a lot of years. Like it's very similar to the Rays in a way and the Guardians in a way where sometimes you look at the talent, you're like, I don't know. And then they're good. They spend more than obviously the Rays and the Guardians do, but they're in that same vein. So they're usually a high chemistry, high quality locker room team. I don't know. I mean, Savali's just not been good. I've seen him pitch here in Cleveland for years. I never thought he was all that good because he started with the Guardians. So, yeah, I mean, that's something I would be concerned about. Mizorowski, just to give you his numbers, he's been pitching at AAA Nashville for the Brewers. He's pitched 63 innings, 12 starts this year. He has a 2.13 ERA, a 109 WHIP. He had 80 strikeouts and 63 in the third inning. So obviously very good numbers. Overall, 4 seasons in the minors, a 3.04 ERA and a 119 WHIP with 320 strikeouts and 233 numbers. Now, you obviously got to take minor league numbers with a grain of salt to some degree, but those strikeout numbers are eye-popping in the minors. I mean, 100 more Ks than innings.
Yeah, and it reflects the Cardinals don't exactly have him figured out, right? Like the scouting and the charting and things like that. So that gives me – I'd be on Brew Crew or pass, man. I really would.
Yeah. According to MLB.com, he's the number by Baseball America, he's the number 44 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. But that's actually down. The year before, he's the number 32 prospect. But obviously, he's been really good in the minors. We'll see how that goes. That'll be a fun game to watch. I always like watching guys make their Major League debut on the mound.
Yeah, especially like stud pitchers, right? Because you get to see him every pitch and when he's that half inning as opposed to like one guy in the field or he plays outfield and then a couple at bats.
I might think about the over here for the game. Can I talk you into that or no? What are you thinking about that?
Maybe. I mean, it's a low number. Not a big fan of Gray, but some of these guys come up and they're just lights out. So I'd be just too much unknown for me.
You know, both these teams have been the Brewers were terrible on offense for to start the season. They've been much better the last few weeks. The Cardinals have been surprisingly solid, not great, although they seem to be kind of falling off. They've dropped 4 in a row and 8 of 11, and now just 4 games over 500. But I got a hunch that's going to be a higher scoring game tonight because I like both offenses enough. And even though Mizorowski's a top prospect, I just feel like he's going to give up a few runs, and they're not going to pitch him long. They're so careful with these young pitchers that they'll go to the middle of the bullpen, and that's where they could get roughed up a little bit. And I'm not Sonny Gray's okay, but I'm with you. I think the name's bigger than the pitcher, and you feel like he gives up 3-4 runs every game. And so I could see that. I feel like that's going to be a 6-5 game, 5-4 game, something like that.
Well, okay.
We'll see.
So both teams contributing and all that stuff.
Yes, that's how I see it. All right. Only a few more games on the docket here. Pirates and Cubs. Cubs with their first kind of slump. They've lost 4 of 6, getting beat 2 straight series, 2 out of 3 to the Tigers, 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. Much softer landing spot here. They go back home and play the Pirates, who have played a little better. They're terrible on the road, though, at 9-22. Jamison Tyone has been very good for the Cubs. I mean, I don't love him, but he's been very good. Andrew Heaney will pitch for the Pirates. He's actually pitched very well for them. So it's a pitching matchup of 2 older veteran pitchers. No, neither pitcher gets you all that excited, but they've both been pretty solid this year. The games at Wrigley Field. What do you think, Doug?
Total, I wanted 8.5. It's 7.5 because I was going to bet the under. So I don't think the Pirates are going to do much against Tyone. Last year, he faced him 7 shutout innings, the team that drafted him. He did get touched up at Pittsburgh the previous game and then another outing. So you kind of don't know what you're going to get with Tyone. I think you were alluding to that. I always like to see if he brings it a little more oomph when he faces a team he used to play for. He was drafted number 2 overall after Strasburg ahead of Machado.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had a bright future when he was coming up.
Right.
And I just, for me, it's Pirates maybe, if anything. But it's not a big enough number.
Yeah.
I'd feel dumb when the Pirates can't hit anything against Haiti, but Haiti's not exactly, Randy Johnson here.
No, he's certainly certainly not. By the way, for what it's worth, I always like to pay attention to the wind at Wrigley Field, especially if you're thinking about an over-under. Not huge winds today. It's saying 11 miles an hour, so that's not a massive wind, obviously, but the whatever wind is there is expected to be kind of blow it, like kind of sideways left to right, but a little trending a little towards in more than out in the direction. Now that's the projection as of 6 hours or whatever it is before the game, 8:05 Eastern. So something to keep in mind if you're thinking about doing going under or over in that game. The Cubs are a big favorite, and they haven't been as good lately. I'm with you. I'm not going to bet a minus 200 with Jamison Tyone.
Right. You can't.
No. All right. Also today on the docket, there's one other game. It's the White Sox and Astros. It's an 8:10 Eastern start. Davis Martin, another White Sox pitcher who's been surprisingly, decent, will face Framber Valdez. I mean, Framber Valdez a couple of years ago was a borderline Cy Young candidate, and he had a rocky start to the season. In early May, he was kind of scuffling. In fact, after facing the White Sox on May 2nd, he gave up 4 runs in 5 innings in that game. He had a 4.39 ERA. But since then, he's made 6 starts. The Astros are 6-0 in those starts. He has pitched at least 6 innings every start, and at least 5 of those 6. All totaled, 44 innings and just 9 earned runs in his last 6 starts. And he's had at least 7 strikeouts in 5 of those 6. So he's been really sharp for the last month. And obviously, you're facing a White Sox team that has very little offense. Would you consider run line for the White Sox under in this one?
Yeah, I would. I think, a lot depends on what you think of Davis Martin, who's had decent numbers. Getting ready to sneeze, so I apologize for the facial expressions. I like Valdez a lot, and you mentioned his durability, what he's allowed. I mean, 7.5 feels like a low number, but it's not if he pitches great. So I would actually look at under 7.5. I'd look at first 5 run line for Valdez, but you know what? Let's go under 7.5. I'm not in love with this Astros lineup, so I'm going to go under 7.5, minus 114 at Bet Rivers, and then. I kind of want to play his over 18.5 because he's such a workhorse and things like that. I'm going to do that as well. That's minus 0.5. So really banking on Valdez here to step up and have a nice outing against these lowly White Sox.
In games that Valdez had started, those games were under 7.5, 4 starts in a row until his last start, oddly, against the Pirates. He only gave up 2 runs. Well, I guess it's not oddly because you're a lineup against the Pirates, although their pitching's pretty good, or at least some of them are. So his last start, there was 10 runs scored in that game. Again, it's different opponents, so it is what it is. And the White Sox are a particularly bad offense. So there's anything under in this game could be certainly a good play. So. That's the full docket for today. Doug, I did want to hit on the NBA because obviously betting weekly fast break coming your way in about 25 minutes, and you 5-0. I against the spread in the NBA Finals so far. You have been nailing it.
All props. It's been pretty clear, and picking my spots. And all of us, really, everyone on the show for Game 3 liked Pacers plus 5.5. Chris Massero, professional bettor, yesterday said he played 5, he played 5.5, he played 6. And he's back for more today as we look ahead to tomorrow's Game 4. Everyone's been dishing a lot of winners in the prop market, and they've been kind of rocking chair winners, to be honest. So hopefully we keep that up. Quick turnaround, no travel. But yeah, we'll have that Betting Weekly fast break, top of the hour, Monday through Friday, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, and we'll try to keep it going. And we have boots on the ground tomorrow. Ooh. Wes Reynolds, professional handicapper, attended last night's game. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. Little firsthand handicapping,
nice,
right on site. So yeah, this Pacers team's legit, and the people who didn't follow this team are kind of out of the loop, but they've been certainly a bet on team. And I think it's just one of those, on paper from the regular season, the metrics say one thing, but if you watch and you know the head coach of Indiana, you certainly know they're a live dog.
Did you know, I heard this stat today. I don't know if this matters to anybody from a betting perspective, but I thought it was a very interesting stat. So the Pacers won 50 games this year. The last team to win 50 or less games and win the NBA title was the Rockets 30 years ago.
Yeah, I think there's only been one 4 seed in the history of the NBA that's won it all. But this team reminds me of the Celtics team from a few years ago that lost to the Warriors in the finals, because I remember that team was like 18-18, and then they turned it on, had a great defense. Ime Udoka, his last year with Boston. This team has the second best record in NBA since January 1 when they were healthy. Right. And sometimes you just get a late run. I mean, it kind of feels like Carlisle's last finals team and the Mavericks that got hot and made a nice run in the playoffs. And now they were led with Dirk, and this team's more by committee, at least 2 All-Stars and then more deeper bench. But he'll get the most out of a team, and that's all you want from your head coach.
Earlier, you said you don't see the Nationals scoring anytime soon, and you look correct on that one. They haven't scored through 5. The Mets have now increased their lead to 4-0 on a solo home run by Brandon Nimmo. That game going to the top of the 6th, 4-0 in favor of the Mets, and the Rangers have extended their lead on Minnesota. They got a home run from Evan Carter, his 4th of the year, and the Rangers lead the Twins 7-1. Twins batting bottom 5. All right. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. Thanks to Alex and Chris for producing today. Make sure you stick around for Betting Weekly Fast Break coming up in just over 20 minutes. All part of the Betting Weekly studios, part of the Bet Rivers family. For Doug, I'm Adam. We'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Hardball.